You're listening to the CEO's Wingwoman podcast. I'm Olivia Jenkins, your host and strategic partner, helping you elevate your brand to cult-like status. Over the past 5 years, I've helped over 500 visionary CEOs to generate in excess of 70 million in revenue. And now it's time for me to share my tips, tricks, and strategies to help you supercharge your growth. I'm here to help you step into your power to develop a bulletproof business and growth mindset to match. Consider me your secret weapon to scale. Let's get started. Welcome back to the CEO's Wingwoman podcast. Today, I am so excited to be joined by none other than Courtney Nolan, Australia's favourite and spicy relationship and intimacy consultant who has helped countless women deepen their connections and step into their true power. It has been an absolute honour to have worked with Courtney for the past few years, and she's also a valued member of the Business Advisory, my signature program for female consultants. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation with you, Courts. This is going to blend your expertise in relationships with the behind the scenes of building a thriving business as a mum. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's kick off to set the scene. I'd love for you to explain who you work with and why you're obsessed with this work.
Well, thank you for having me. Obviously, we chat offline all the time, so this is just fun. I help high achieving women who are usually perfectionists or identify as a recovering perfectionist who nail everything business, but in the bedroom feel like they're lacking. So feel not so confident to the point where they avoid initiating and then get to that point in their relationship where they're like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? Is my husband noticing that I'm doing this? How is this affecting our marriage? I'm just going to throw myself into work because that feels easier than working out what's happening in the bedroom or why I'm not feeling confident, why I don't have that playful side in between the sheets that some of the girls just seem to have. So I'm obsessed with it because I don't know, it's really fun. I love it. I love how every client is so different. I love how just when you think somebody is coming in with one particular thing, they change and they're like, oh, actually, no, it's this, or this is what I'm feeling. It's more than just sex. And I think that's the biggest eye opener that I get from clients. They're like, oh my God, I came in because it was our sex life is so boring. We do these 3 positions because that's what we know. And I just want it over with as quickly as possible because I feel super embarrassed and insecure. And then we start diving into everything else that it impacts, that it's so much more than just sex. And the ripple outwards when they master this in between the sheets, fun times is insane.
Amazing. It's so interesting. I love talking about this topic because I feel as though it's something that a lot of women avoid, particularly in a professional context, because obviously, for a lot of women that are in, professional careers or own businesses, it's not necessarily something that is at the forefront of conversation. So to really bring this topic into, broad daylight, so to speak, and encourage women to talk openly about their sex lives, about intimacy and some of the challenges that they're facing behind the scenes, I think is so powerful because, as you pointed out, it's definitely, a part of us. And the more that we can work with stepping into our power and our full confidence in this space, the more that it's going to have that effect across lots of different parts of our lives, including our business as well. So knowing that you work with clients that are, CEOs or professional women, I'd love to hear from you some of the things that you see with clients that are sort of the top things for, let's say, a professional woman. For listeners of the CEO's Wingwoman podcast, what are the top problems that you see with clients when they first start working with you?
I think the first thing is they come to me because it's they recognize they're not initiating sex. And that's now becoming a problem because their husband's like, I'm always the one to say, let's do this, let's try that, let's do this, and you're not interested. And
Yeah.
so now it's getting to that point where it's been going on for so long that it's I want to say breaking-ish point because it's what are we going to do about this problem? Because I'm the one who's not showing up for sex because I'm feeling uncomfortable or embarrassed or insecure about what my body looks like, what we sound like, what I smell like, any of the things. I'm feeling uncomfortable with all of this. And that's why, when he initiates, you're like, oh, I'm not doing that. but he is reading that as rejection.
Yeah.
And that's impacting your marriage because it's like, well, my wife is rejecting me, like in this most primal connective way that we need in our marriage for it to feel fun and exciting and playful and not like work.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is going on? So women come to me because they're like, oh, I'm at this breaking point. We're at this like real crisis point in our marriage of like something needs to change, or I'm worried he's going to go and sleep with somebody else. And I can't actually blame him if he does
Mm-hmm.
because I haven't been doing my share of the bedroom activities. I
Yeah.
haven't been initiating, or I haven't even been like showing up properly. I've kind of just been like a passenger in all of it. I'm like, whatever you want to do is fine. Are you enjoying yourself? Like more of like that outward external focus instead of like, well, actually, I don't even know if I'm enjoying this. Like, I don't know if this is fun for me. So it's like you've just, and to no fault of your own, but it's not a topic that's spoken about. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's my biggest thing. Like people come into my office and they're like, "Oh my goodness, like you make this so digestible. Like it actually feels good to talk about it in here." Like this is the only time in my fortnight that I get to speak about this and actually feel like you're not going to judge me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, because like I live for it." I'm like, "I love it." And I think that's why people get to a point in their marriage where they're like, okay, we've been together about 10 years now. Like, we've had some kids, business is booming, but oh my goodness, like, my relationship feels like really hard work, and I actually don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of my problem is it's like I'm overthinking all of these things, what I look like, what I smell like, what he's thinking, to the point of it being like, okay, I won't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's like that point when people come in and they're like, just help me, this is my mess. And I'm like, it really is the same template every single time because it's like, I don't know where to start. I'm such, as women who like are high achievers and love to have a win under their belt or feedback under their belt or that instant, like, yes, you've done a job, a job well done.
Mm-hmm.
Sex isn't that. Relationship isn't that. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not straight away.
Yeah. It's so interesting as well, even just as you were unpacking all of that. Two big things stood out for me. First one is sometimes we can lack confidence in things. It could be sex, it could be business, could be anything. And the other person can read that wrong and interpret that and make that mean something potentially that it doesn't mean. And I think I can definitely see that being a really big thing for clients. The second thing as well is comparison. Feel like a
Mm.
lot of women compare themselves, what stage of business they're at. I imagine as well that there is a comparison that potentially a lot of us would make when it comes to maybe reading where we're at with our sexual confidence or how we show up in the bedroom compared to friends or people in our network that we're having conversations with. And even just that openness of being able to talk about it, as you say,
Mhm.
because for a lot of women, potentially, I wonder if they don't feel overly confident talking to their husband or their partner or their significant other about sex. And so maybe
Mhm.
it feels a little bit easier to talk to someone like you about things where, yes, they're not going to be judged, but also they can bring things to the space and just, know that they can say anything in that container and it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, completely. And it's different because I don't judge any of it. Like, as you know, Liv, like I used to be in the cops. So being in the police force, you see everything, everything. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why part of it is like, you can't shock me with what you come in with. So when people
You're
come
like,
in and
I've
they're like,
seen it all.
exactly, exactly. So I'm not the least bit baffled by it. I'm like, yeah, cool,
Yeah.
no problem. It's like, this is where you're at, no problems. We can work with that. Or this is where I want to go. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, it's not for me to judge what you want your marriage to look like. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to help you get there. And the
Yeah.
fact that I'm not in your marriage makes it easier to talk to me because it's like, well, I'm sort of like that third person. It's like, oh, hey, what did Courtney say? It's like, I
Yeah.
have clients who are like, oh, what did Courtney say with this? And they'll come back in the next session and be like, yeah, I used, what you said about this, and it made it more palatable for my husband to understand
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't coming from me. So it wasn't a you versus you. It was like, well, what did Courtney say? Like, what is her experience in that? What was
Yeah.
the advice there? Or what was the framework that we were following to sort of get to an end result so that we're on the same team? It's not your opinion versus mine. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like having that extra reference point instead of it just being each other's experience, which obviously you can only speak from what you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that can sometimes be where the blinkers come on. So it's like if you've, you know, had certain experiences before or you've spoken to friends before, they will just give you advice of what they like. So, for example, even if it's like a position thing, if it's like, hey, this position really hurts for me, if your friend has different anatomy to you in a particular way or a particular position, of course it's going to feel different. But
100%. Yeah.
this is where it's like going to friends for certain things, by all means, I think is powerful. But when it's something that you're like, I just want to navigate this at a pace that feels good for me with a little bit of a nudge in the right way, that is where like I feel like I come into complete excitement because I'm like, this
Mm-hmm.
is so good. It's like, yes, I know exactly what you need, or yes, I can see it. It's kind of like this big mud map that it's like, okay, cool, you want this, let's move in this direction. But it's just, it's, in my opinion, and experience, it's been so much more powerful when it's like personalized advice
Mm-hmm.
instead of just following Cleo's top tips. Follow these 10
Right.
tips if you need this. And it's like, yeah, cool, that might work when you're 16 and you're still figuring it out. But when you are somebody who loves results and you're achieving shit everywhere, but the bedroom feels soggy and like, oh, I don't know where to start, you kind of want more of a tailored approach. You want more of a high-end
Mm-hmm.
experience because you're better than just a sealed section of Dolly now. You want something that's more elevated.
That's how you know you need a retinol if you know what the Dolly Field section was. The number one sign.
Totally. But it's like you want something more because
Yeah.
you're not getting business advice. You're not like you know what I mean? Like you're not going to read Dolly and be like, "Oh, they said to do this with my bank account, so I'm going to go and do this." It's the same thing with your marriage. It might be okay for a teen romance, but when you've been married for 10 years, you've got kids, you've got assets, you've got businesses, you've got this and this and everything else, and you love each other in that super deep way, you
Mm-hmm.
just want to tweak the romance. You just want to tweak the intimacy because it's like
Yeah.
then shit just gets so much better. There's more of the passion. You feel confident. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was literally having this conversation this week with a girl because she's like, "Oh, it's just about moves or positions or some Kama Sutra." And I'm like, "No, no, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Everything else is like the clothes you wear, how you feel in a conversation, how you feel pitching an offer, how you
Mm-hmm.
feel in a boardroom setting, how you feel showing up to, your kids' play group. It is just how
Mm-hmm.
it's a feeling. It's
It's an
not being
identity thing.
completely,
Yeah.
completely. And it's like, the women I'm talking about when you see them. You're like, oh, she just oozes it. She's so magnetic. She's so comfortable in her own stuff, whether or not she's
Mm-hmm.
rocking up in trackies or, the brand new drop that's just happened.
Yeah.
It's different. It's like, it's not an external thing. But when you have good sex, you feel so connected to your husband that
Mm-hmm.
you feel empowered. You feel confident and powerful, which is why I love working with women and high achieving women because they
Mm-hmm.
get it. They're like, oh, I know that feeling you're talking about. I
Yeah.
know what that's like when it's like, oh, that is just creme de la creme.
It's so interesting as well. Just as you were chatting through that, I was thinking, you know me, analogy queen. I was thinking about having, a sex coach or an intimacy coach and how it is similar in a way to having a business coach in the sense that if you are getting very generic information from a book or a course or something and it's not tailored to your business, the advice might be, go out and create courses. Courses is the thing for you. But if you connect with people in a live setting better and you get energy from a group in a live situation, you go and build your business around being a course creator or something, that's not necessarily going to work for you because that's not in line with what you feel good naturally about, and that's going to look different, and between people that'll look different. It would be the same, I imagine. That's what you see with coaching as well, and same thing with the anatomy point from earlier. Just because a certain position might work for one person doesn't mean that person B has the same anatomy for that to work for them. And it's
Mhm.
the same, isn't it? Which is why working with someone like yourself is so powerful, because you're getting that personalized advice that meets you where
Completely.
you're at in a pace that you're comfortable. Because I know for me, I've spoken about this publicly before in another podcast. I grew up in a really religious environment. So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and there was a lot of very sort of strict guidelines and rules around, sex and talking about things like this. It was very taboo growing up. So there were a lot of belief systems as a child growing up in that religion that carried through into adulthood. And, I've had to unpack and work through. My pace might be a little bit slower to someone else's who, didn't have that upbringing and doesn't have as many blocks around that. So I think it would be really interesting to consider the pace as well as the content.
The pace is so different. And I think there's like different levels that we work through. And I find it fascinating. Like some things people are like, yeah, I can nail that, no problems, and then work through it very, very quickly. But again, like you're saying, like it is your upbringing. and it is the support that you have at home. So some clients will come to me and their partner is so on board and he is like, yes, what's your homework this week? Like, what are we working through? And then I see other clients and they're like, my partner doesn't know about this, my husband doesn't know, or my wife doesn't know. And it's
Mm,
like, I just need to air this because I feel like there's something wrong with me because I don't, crave sex every day, or because I crave sex every day and I don't know how to communicate that because I don't want to come across looking, slutty or anything of the like. But
mhm,
it's like when you're looking at like the bedroom confidence, it is about being able to communicate whichever side of that fence you're on and
mhm,
have your spouse involved as well. Because at the end of the day, like it's a journey that you do with you,
mhm.
but I just help tweak it so that it's like when to push, like when to move through these things. Or have you
Mhm.
thought about it like this? Like my
Yeah.
client yesterday was sitting on the couch and they were like, "Oh my goodness, like the way that you talk about sex is like nothing I've ever heard before." He
Mhm,
was like, the way that you describe it and you just talk about how it when it's embodied, it's
mhm,
so different. It's more than just like, hey, which position should we try? It's like,
mhm,
how does this feel in my body? What does that look like? What can we achieve? And then it just changes the whole way that you show up for your day because you feel confident or you
mhm,
feel connected to yourself, which is like we were saying, like that's an identity piece, but it's like
mhm,
not everyone moves at that pace or realizes it that quickly. So it's like having somebody there for accountability, but
mhm.
also the support you need,
Yeah.
who's not in it for another reason. Like it's just about I like the way that when I work with clients and see it, I'm like, you need somebody to hold you accountable with stuff,
Mhm,
also to be able to see your blind spots. But then
mhm,
lastly, like you need to have somebody there to like soften the blow with some things. If this is the first time you're looking at sex in this way, or understanding how it's not just this one thing that's about how quickly you can orgasm or any of that. It's not just that one piece. It's this flow on and the
mhm.
connection that you get with your husband. it's
Yeah.
it's all of that. So it's like if your relationship feels like there's a disconnect, or if you haven't had sex for a number of weeks and you're like, why are we so nitpicky with each other? Why does it feel like everything's so hard? Why am I feeling like this resistance? Like, why am I getting so worked up about how he's just hung the tea towels on the oven the wrong way for the 50,000th time? It's like, okay. And I should, if you're like, hey, when did we at last have sex? And if you can't remember it, then it's been too long.
So
If you can't go,
interesting.
oh, it was then, it's like, okay, well, it's been too long. Like, what's happening with us? Like, it's that like it's so funny because even before I did this work, I'd be like the barometer of a good relationship is your sex life. And
Mhm,
it's when you last had sex. Like I remember even saying this in the cops and people would be like, "Oh, it's been ages, it's been months." And I'm like, "That's wild to me." I'm like, with one of the
mhm.
people it was over 2 years. And I was
Yeah.
like,
I
it's not even
definitely
a
know of couples that it's been like 5 years. And yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to unpack in that. One question I do have for you though is, you know how you were saying before that some people crave sex all the time, then other people are sort of happy, you know, just ticking along and it's not hugely important in them in the context of life. What is that? Is that a male female thing? Is that anatomy thing? Where does that come from when someone's just got that innate drive versus maybe somebody else takes a little bit of time to warm up to the idea and then they're good?
I think there's a few different scenarios personally.
Mm-hmm.
Like if okay, let's take the person with a really quote unquote high sex drive.
Yeah.
I want to know more about the person, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
why do you think you have that? Like, what's your definition of high? Like, what's too much? And is it a problem in your marriage? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it actually a problem, or is it just something that you think is a problem because society is like, oh, no, that's too many times a week. If it's not 2 to 3 times, well, that's too many.
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference then with somebody who's like, oh, I know I could happily like never have sex again, and that's okay for me. My question is, would be to explore why is that? Like, how, what's the conditioning around you? Like, what's your perception of sex? Is it just because you believe that it's penetrative sex?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it that you're somebody who doesn't like there are asexual people who don't crave sexual touch at all? And
Yeah.
that's okay too, but it's like if you're in a relationship with somebody who does, like that's when it becomes a bit of a drama. And it's like, okay, cool, well, what can we do to change this? So I
Mm-hmm.
think people have different like it's not actually referred to as a sex drive anymore, or it's just more of like desire is
Yeah.
more of the terminology at the moment. So whether or not you've got like a sexual desire,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I still like the term sex drive because I think it just covers it quite well. But people have different sex drives, different desires.
Hmm.
it's the stress, I think, of life that impacts that. So with men, for sure, a lot of the time the argument is like, oh, they're just good to go. Like they're just a physical being. They're happy to like let's do this. And obviously, this is the clients that
Do you
beg your
think
pardon.
that's because men are, when, like, let's say, for example, and obviously I'm going to say that this is a huge generalization, but a lot of men, including my husband, if they have a really stressful week or a really stressful day, for a lot of men, generally, sex is a thing that helps them wind down. And so it acts as a stress relief. Whereas I feel like for women, and I would put myself in this category too, again, as a generalization, when I'm stressed, it's not what I feel like doing because I want to retreat and I'm a bit touched out and I just want to chill for a minute and not necessarily be, in an intimate situation that wouldn't necessarily result in stress relief. Maybe, if he was persistent and that ended up happening, maybe. But I feel like our natural default for a lot of women is when I'm stressed out, I just need to take a step back because I've had too many people touching me, too many people talking to me. And right now I just need to be in my bubble.
If we're generalizing and keeping it very broad strokes, in my experience, it's been men have that physical need straight away,
Yeah.
whereas women need their emotional needs met
So,
first. So,
mm-hmm.
particularly when you're feeling stressed, it's like, I need to feel safety before I'm feeling sexually ready to roll. So, safety can look like a number of different things, but it can also look like that, like, I feel like my man has got me covered. So,
Mm-hmm.
if that's why I say, I'm like, seriously, if you pick up a vacuum, she's going to be turned on by that because it's like, oh, you've got that covered. Like
Unless
you're
you're
helping.
Unless you're Lauren, I think her name is from Maths recently. I saw this commercial. I don't know if you've been tuning in to Maths. I swore I wouldn't this year and I got sucked in. But essentially, she was saying that she saw, I think his name was Clint, saw Clint doing the dishes. And then she was referencing how she's really attracted to alpha men. And seeing him do the dishes for her wasn't exactly a turn on because for her, she wanted him to be the alpha, not being domesticated. So it's super interesting, isn't it? Because there's such different views. For a lot of women, they would be like, oh my God, amazing. He's doing the dishes. This is such a turn on. But then for other women, it could be, oh, actually, I'm seeing you in a domesticated sense now. I want you to be going to hook up the trailer or, doing something manly.
Completely. And I mean, that's why everyone is so different. So your version of him, meeting your emotional needs might be doing the groceries, but that also might be that thing that's you're like drives you insane because he buys the wrong things. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like when we talk about your emotional needs, it's like I need to know that you've got me regardless. I'm feeling stressed, so I need to know that you can support me in the way that I need, and then I will feel sexually turned on.
Yeah.
Whereas guys, more often than not, you can show them a boob pic and they're like, "Oof, let's do it." It's
Ready to
that really
roll.
instant, like, yeah, it's a more of a reactive thing. Whereas with us, with women, it's like, okay, we need more of a slow build of desire. Like we need to be constantly stoking that fire, which is why I say, and I'm not sure who said it first. It was maybe it was like SQL, but it was like foreplay starts the moment sex finishes. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, we like to have the oven preheated the whole time. So that is when all of those other little things that when I'm saying to couples or saying to women, I'm like, well, this is what we need to be communicating with your husband because he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that
Yeah.
when he just takes out the rubbish without being asked, like that's a turn on, or when he just brings home flowers, or when he just cooks dinner, or when he just sends you a text message of just because, hey, I'm thinking of you, this is what I'm in love with, or
Yeah.
sends you a song and it's like, hey, this came when I'm thinking of you. Like this is why our thing, our reactions to sex are different because
Mm-hmm.
we need different things. Honestly, the boob thing or the bum thing or a nude pic, guys, usually are like, "Whoop, amazing, love this."
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with women, it's like if you've put it's the effort behind it or like the listening behind it.
Yeah.
If I know that resonates so much with you, if I know music is your thing, and if I send you a song that's like, hey, I heard this and it made me think of this, or that time we were at the beach and we were dancing together, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
that just is your emotional need. It's like, oh God, you really see me, you really appreciate me. And that is where, like, at the very essence of our relationships, that's what we're looking for. And
Yeah.
that is when we are so much more interested and wet for sex because it's like, oh, you really see me. It's not just about having sex, it's about us connecting in that really nice primal way that then
Mm-hmm.
just feels so aligned. So, like, yes, our sex drives are different, and yes, some people are more like interested, but I would ask more questions with somebody who's like, oh, I could just deal with not having it at all.
Mm-hmm.
My my usual question then is like, okay, but like, what's the sex like that you've been having? Is it
Mhm.
just penetrative sex? Have you talked about oral? Have you talked about what your preferences are? Have you
Mhm.
explored different things? Do you actually feel safe enough with this person to do that? Like,
Mhm.
safe enough emotionally. Like, that's why I'm like, genuinely, the amount of people who I truly believe would be okay with not having sex, it's a small amount. For
Yeah.
everybody else, I'm like, okay, but like, sex is more of a buffet. All these different things come into the equation. It's not
Mhm.
just one little penetrative sex that lasts for about, 90 seconds and then you're done. It's about
Yeah.
the foreplay, it's the touching, it's the kissing, it's the conversations, it's the general intimacy. All of this. Can you really do with all of that? And then how is your marriage any different to a flatmate friendship relationship?
Mm. Yeah. A lot of it, I think, is avoidance too, because, you know, we're pre-wired to keep ourselves in our comfort zone. And I imagine that sex is no different. So if you
Hmm.
know that in order to move past something, you might have to put yourself out there. Potentially a fear of rejection could be underlying that as well. Of, if I step out of my comfort bubble and I attempt this thing and I, don't do it right, or I get met with rejection, how is that going to make me feel? So I wonder if a lot of that is also just sheer avoidance of the whole thing and feeling as though there's that rejection piece there. But realistically, as you were chatting through that, again, my business brain is just going, wow, this sounds so similar to when we hire a team member, we're building out a team and we can make assumptions as leaders that maybe the office bantics or the things that were acceptable in that organization, that person is going to have the exact same situation here. So, for example, if you could use your phone comfortably in your previous organization, you might make the assumption that in the new one, you can do that as well. But your new employer or you as a leader might not be comfortable with that. So, the more that you can set expectations for your team, the more that you can tell them, okay, this is what the definition of success looks like. This is what, we're not, so that they've got that really clear boundary and goalpost around it's this, it's not that. It
Hmm.
strikes so many similarities between what you're talking about, because if only we actually told our significant other what we like and what we don't like and had those conversations more openly, we probably would be, for a lot of us, we probably would be in a very different situation with our intimacy if we approached it with the same level of openness maybe that we do with our team. If we could
Yeah.
bring that structure and that openness to the bedroom, to our relationship, I wonder how much of a difference that would actually make.
And I think that's where when people come in and work with me, I think that is why they get that like, oh, I'm like, this can be like a sounding space for you. So you can even rehearse what you think you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
or see how that feels, or just move through what's thinking in your brain in a really safe space without worried that your husband's going to judge you because he's not here.
Yeah.
So I think that's why like just being able to feel it out. And then sometimes like with clients, I've gone, okay, well, like what was your introduction to sex like? Like what happened when you first tried that? Or what was, your first partner's like? How did that play out? And usually then it's like, if you think about when people become sexually active, those first experiences, like they can be they're conditioning for it too. So it's like if you've had a bad experience or it hasn't gone as glossy as you thought it would be, you're going to use that in your marriage now in your 30s and your 40s. You're going to be like, oh no, this is exactly what's going to happen if I try this
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
Or that fear that you had when you were 17 and you tried like this particular position or you initiated it in that way and you got met with whatever you got met with, if it wasn't positive and you're still hanging on to it, it's like of course you're not going to be like, yeah, let's try that again. I'm feeling really good. You're going to be like very reluctant or a bit standoffish, or hey, what if I make a fool of myself? Or
Mm-hmm.
what if it doesn't look as good as I think it looks? Or what if I don't
Mm-hmm.
look like the porn or whatever that we've seen that on before? Or on the movies it looks like this. Like why don't I look like that? Or do
Mm-hmm.
it's all of that, like the comparison that we spoke about before. And that just I genuinely feel like that comes into the fear. So it's just like if you don't have someone that you talk about, and if your communication in your marriage isn't on topics of intimacy, it doesn't happen overnight. You need someone to help you feel more confident with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the conversations in your head, if you aren't having them out loud, they're not really, you're not going to be able, you're just marinating on them. You're
Yeah.
going to just work yourself up into a tears instead of being like, hey, I actually don't know what I like in the bedroom. Can we try a few different things? Please don't laugh at me, or just, I need you to really hold space like you do when I come to you with a business idea. Like I
Yeah.
do when I'm coming to you with a business problem and it's like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Can you just give me that same sensitivity? I'm
Hmm.
not looking for a solution. I just want support with it. And the
Yeah.
support that I'm looking for is the way that your face doesn't change. Like I've said that to my husband before. I'm like, I need your face not to change when I ask you about this or ask you if we can try this.
He's
I
like,
need you not to react. And then he's like, ooh, I'm like, you're not pushing out a poo. Just look at me plain. Look at me without changing while I bring this up, and then we'll go from there. And I'm like, and then just have a couple of seconds. So it's
yeah.
like that reactionary face, and we all know because like high achieving women, we know how to read people, we know how to read body language and
Hmm.
look at faces and look at it and be like, oh, he's thinking this. The problem is we then attach a meaning that might not be quite correct. It might just be that he needs an extra second to marinate on what the heck you've just said because it's so different to what you've previously asked for. When
Yeah.
you've been like, no, we're not having sex with the lights on for like the 10 years of your marriage so far. And now you're like, oop, I'm flicking on a candle or I'm leaving the red salt lamp on. And he's
Hmm.
like, what the fuck's going on? I've got
Yeah.
no idea.
What's
So it's
happening?
just
What have
like
you been
getting to
speaking
that
to?
what's happening. So yeah, it's just about getting to that place with your communication, which is why it's always like it's outside of the bedroom conversations that improve the inside the bedroom conversations.
Love that. So obviously, both of us have a lot of training in NLP. We're both NLP master practitioners, and just a bit of fun fact info. So Court and I had a strategy session when we first met, and when I
Hmm.
first met Courtney, that first strategy session, I was like, oh my gosh, Court, you would love NLP. You need to go and do NLP. And so, fast forward, we ended up, I signed up to do Master Prac, and I've dropped into this training, and Courtney's messaged me on this Zoom group being like, hey, Liv, oh my gosh, we're in Master Prac together. So it turns out she went and did practitioner training, and then we ended up in Master Prac together, which was so much fun. But we learned a lot about, limiting beliefs or limiting decisions. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on is sort of, you know, for a lot of us, I'm in my 30s now, and, like everybody, I had a teenage life and early 20s life and all the things. But I imagine that a lot of women possibly may have had some type of trauma or negative experience that they've attached to, and they've made a decision in that moment that it's not safe for them to be open sexually because XYZ happened or whatever it may be. I'm interested to know from your side, Courts, if this is somebody listening to the show right now, they're listening to this episode and they're identifying like a crazy person. Yes, 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 that's me. And they're thinking, gosh, yes, I had a situation when I was 16 or 17 or whatever it was. And, since then I have made it mean that it's not safe for me to show up as my confident self in the bedroom because of this thing that happened a gazillion years ago. Is there hope for that person? What does that look like for them?
I just feel like I want to give you an example from a recent client about this because I know you love an analogy, but here's a real life example. So one of my clients we were talking, so I launched a blowjob course, how to give him a blowjob, like blow his mind in 30 days recently. And she went into the course and then was like, oh my God, that was really helpful. And then messaged me. And then obviously, because I can't help myself, I'm like, I'm just going to pick up the phone and call this person who's got the number in the thing. And we're going to have a bit of a chat and see what next steps will look like. And
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about how she gave her first blowjob when she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that happened, afterwards, this guy completely ignored her in school and then was talked about at school. So on the school
Mm-hmm.
bus was spoken about. So her the attack like once we unpacked it and like went through a strategy session, did the deep dive, her attachment to that was like, when I give a blowjob, he will leave. Like these were the stories that she was just on repeat. So in her marriage, she was like, oh, I don't want to give a blowjob. I don't want to do that because he's going to leave. Because that was what happened the first time she did it, and that's what she's hung on to
Mm-hmm.
now after working through it and realizing like that wasn't even on the conscious part of her brain, that was like the subconscious, that was like that really deep level of like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like my marriage is so different to that first relationship, like they are so different, but I was drawing the same, it was a bit of a confirmation bias but in like the back of her head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you definitely can change. It's a decision to look at why you think the way you do with support,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so possible. Like it's as easy as making a decision that I want to change this and then investing and being open minded enough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like that's where you can read all that you want, but it's having that like application and that personalized application,
Mhm.
because no two bedroom experiences are the same, no two upbringings are the same, no two
Mhm.
intro to sex or oral or pleasure or intimacy are the same. So
Mhm.
they're very unique. So it's like you absolutely can. Like if you're sitting there going, "Oh my goodness, like no, I'm too timid. I could never do it on top of the covers. I could never do it." It's like completely. If you are, but you have to be at that place where you're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm terrified, but I'm so fucking ready because I'm ready to feel what these girls are talking about, like what these women are talking about when they're like, oh, it's the best thing ever. I get my best ideas after sex, or I feel so connected to my husband in a way that is like so primal. I crave that. And
Mhm.
I think that's like that really special thing. It's like when you make the decision, like I know Liv in a lot of the TBA stuff that we do, you talk about like your for and against motivation, like all of the
Mhm.
NLP stuff.
Yeah.
If your motivation is like, I want this, I want that marriage that feels good,
Mhm.
not just looks good on Instagram. I want that marriage that is like, oh, I can come home and this is genuinely my safest space. I
Yeah.
can be completely myself. I'm craving that. I'm craving that sexual creativity that I've heard people talk about when they're like, oh, it's euphoric. I'm
Mhm.
craving that. That is when you can have such deep change, and it is a feeling. It is from the inside out. It's not about like any of the external stuff or how many orgasms a week you have. If you
Mhm.
are somebody who is like, okay, I am nailing everything else, but my marriage feels a bit like, oh, I don't really know. I like it's good, but I'm like, I want it to be great, and I don't want to cringe on the inside or shrink inwardly when my husband starts to rub my leg because I'm like, oh, I just don't have it in me today. Or,
Mhm.
oh, I haven't had a wax in the last 3 weeks. Like, oh, what am I going to look like? Oh, goodness, I can't do this. Or you're laughing because it's like, this is a thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not ready for this. Or haven't had a shower yesterday. I just got home from the gym. Oh, I can't do that. Like, oh, this is going to be terrible. If you are
Yeah.
somebody who's like, I'm cringing or shrinking away from this, babe, we can definitely work on it. It is so
Amazing.
possible. And it's just, you won't know yourself. Like, you genuinely won't know yourself.
Big
You'll be
change.
like, oh, this is just not even that hard. Or even just with some of the like the cycle work, like your menstrual cycle, how
Mhm.
sex feels different. Like the women that I work with, they're like their husbands are messaging going, oh my God, like I now understand why sometimes if I slap her on the bum, she is like, yes. And then other times it's like, do you fucking touch me? And
That is
he's like, I'm
totally not funny.
understanding the cycle now. He's like, and it's just everyone benefits from the education because it's
Yeah.
like we're not taught about that. So you think something's wrong, and your husband is like, "What the heck is going on? This worked yesterday. She loved this yesterday. The response was awesome." And then I do it 2 days later, and she's like, "Don't you
No wonder
dare."
they think we're such complex creatures. My husband says all the time, he's like, you are such a complicated person, a complex species. We don't understand you. So it's just so interesting. But I relate to that a lot. There are times where if he even tapped me on the bum, I would turn into, this irate monster. So it's so funny how there's definitely those little nuances with everything. But I'm interested, you were saying before, Courts, just about how, you can make a new decision, you can overcome these limiting beliefs or limiting decisions that have held you back, and really step into your power as a woman. And I'm curious for you to just unpack a little bit, how does that change somebody's life beyond just the bedroom and the relationship? Do you see that spilling over into how somebody shows up in their business, how they show up in their day-to-day life? Is it an aura thing? I'm just curious to know, when that change happens on, the other side, what does that look like holistically for someone?
Oh, such a big question. It can look like so many things. So, for example, it could be that permission slip to slow down for some people and to actually connect with their body again and realize what they like. From a business perspective, it could be like, oh, actually, I'm doing this. It could be that little confidence boost or that epic confidence boost to actually put themselves out there, to put themselves forward for something, whether or not it's a promotion, a new offer, pitching to a new client. It could be
Mm-hmm.
any of these things. It
Mm-hmm.
is confidence. Like you look at the areas of your life where you're like, oh, I'd love to be a little bit more confident there, or oh, I'd love to have the skills to do that. You will then feel more compelled to do it. There won't be as much doubt because your self worth, your
Mm-hmm.
self identity feels so much more. powerful and just connected. Like I know how woo-woo that sounds, but it's like it's a feeling. Anything that
Mm-hmm.
you've been looking at lately, you're like, oh, I can't do that, or oh, I'm not ready, or oh, I'm not good enough. Those are all the things that you won't second guess.
Mm-hmm.
Purely because you're like, oh no, I'm so grounded in myself. I'm so grounded in my relationship. I feel really good about this. There's no room for doubt. Like whatever will be, will be. I'm just going to make it what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's NLP in the way that it's like, you can remove those limiting beliefs when you decide. But it's like, instead of being doubting certain things, whether or not you're ready for something in business, whether or not you're ready for it, it's like, no, no, I'm doing that. And it'll just turn out for me. It's like a absolute flash of your system because your system is like, oh yes, I can do this. So you make more money because
Mm-hmm.
you feel more confident because you're not like, oh, don't have like that scarcity mindset. You don't have that, oh, it's not going to turn out for me. Or, oh, this is, not a good decision. It just gives you that confidence and the support, the backing of you for you. So
Mm-hmm.
it feels so different and you show up better. Like even if you think about when you promote yourself or you're on your social media,
Mm-hmm.
some days you're like, oh, not feeling it. I'm like, I'm telling you, I guarantee those women have not had sex that morning.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. If you are showing up like that, you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit soggy. I'm feeling a little bit more. You're not connected to yourself. You don't feel aligned. Even if what you're saying is that, oh, yeah, I guarantee then that you're like, oh, feeling a little bit scattered all over.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it suffers. Whereas when you're having sex regularly, when you're having that experience with yourself, because it's more than just your orgasm. Like if you genuinely think about your last orgasm, or actually this can be your homework, go and have an orgasm with yourself, with your partner. When you do, I guarantee you will not be thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
That moment when you're on the cusp and that moment of like when you're getting pure bliss, it's like I call it like a factory reset because your brain, everything shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything slowly comes back online, or just essential stuff comes back online.
Yeah.
But it's like when you feel like that, you can cut through all of like any of the bullshit that's on your mind that's like unnecessary, any of the doubt about any of the decisions you've been making. It goes because you have that sense of clarity. You've had that moment of grounding and you're so connected with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And as high achievers all the time, we're like, oh, we want to be doing this. Oh, we want to be doing this. And you're constantly busy. This is like that forced slowdown with you. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you are like in that place of like, how can I make more money or how can I change this or why do I feel so, stressed out over XYZ? You need the clarity so that you know which decision to make, which
Factory
step to
reset.
take forward.
Very
Pardon?
welcomed. All about factory reset, I can tell you. That sounds lovely. I also feel like I'm going to be stalking everybody's social media now to see whether they're on stories, face to camera in the morning, and then I'll know. Did they have an
You'll
orgasm
know.
that morning?
You'll know because it's a glow, right? You just know. And then that's why, like I've said to clients before, like I'll never send someone home like as go and have an orgasm because the pressure, it just doesn't happen. But I'm like, just notice how different you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Notice how different you feel afterwards.
Yeah.
Like if you, especially when you have like a busy brain like me, it's like all the time, it can be hard to get to that place. But it's one of those things that it's like, if you ride a bike once every 5 years, it's going to be clunky when you get back on and try to like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. So that's why I'm like, if it's more regularly, and if you stop looking at sex as just a penetrative activity and more of a buffet of all of these different things, it doesn't feel so far away. It doesn't feel so impossible. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have like a massive sweaty rump. It can be any of these things, but
Yeah.
it's that connection with yourself and then the person that you're choosing to spend life with, the sex with them. It's like amazing at the very essence of everything else. If anything else blew over, fine. But as long as you've got each other, everything improves. Your relationship improves. So then you're not as like nitpicky with each other. You're not as snappy with each other. The
Mm-hmm.
big things that you've got more like resistance
Mm-hmm.
against things. So like you're more of that team because at the end of the day, you are a team. And then even more as a mom for me, coming from a divorced family, for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's so nice to be able to show my kids what I would be happy with their marriage to look like. I'm like, if my boys had a marriage that looks like mine, I would be stoked. If my kids model what our marriage looks like, where we talk nicely to each other, where we prioritize time together, where
Mm-hmm.
we still navigate a conflict in front of them. So it'd be like, oh, and I think it was a Bluey episode about how they were squabbling or something. And my boys had just seen that. They're like, oh, you guys are squabbling. And I'm like, no, no, this is a healthy conversation. Mum and dad disagree on this. So we're trying to work out,
Mhm.
whose point is what so that we can chat about it.
Yeah.
But it comes from that connection that you have with each other. I can't see another way that that can be replicated other than with good intimacy and sex regularly.
Hmm. So interesting. And I think that conflict piece is huge because I think most people have either had one of two camps generally, and maybe a small slither in the middle of what you're modeling with your husband now. It's either you grew up in a household where you had explosive arguments that you witnessed with parents, or you never ever saw them argue at all and there was like just nothing.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you hear people say that, they had conflict modeled in a really healthy way and
Mm.
therefore they feel really confident navigating conflict in a healthy way as an adult. So I feel like there's definitely a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, and it's just it's modeling it for them because you want them to, like, I think even just like the way that you talk to each other, like the holding hands when you are having sex regularly, like the physical touch still is important. There's a reason that they talk about like um oh, escapes me, but like skin to skin when you have babies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason they're like that's so important for mum to have bub skin to skin that soothes them. It
Mm-hmm.
soothes us as adults.
Yeah,
Having skin to skin, like even sometimes I'll say to couples, I'm like, why don't you guys sleep naked for a while? As nice as your Peter Alexander Jarmias are, sleep naked a couple of nights and just humor me. Tell me how it goes when you do it between sessions for a fortnight. Just give it a go. Give it a crack.
it's so
And they just
funny. Hopefully,
it's just different.
hopefully this is not TMI for clients and probably my kids listening to this in the future. But George has this thing. So my husband always has this thing where, and I've done it for years. Like we've been together for 13 years now, and he has this thing where when we're in bed and we're laying next to each other, if I put my head on his chest, that's me on his perch. So it's always like I'm the bird, and when I lay on him, I'm on the perch. But it's a thing. If I'm a bit crabby, he will look over at me and be like, "Liv, come on your perch." And then I'll just like teeter over and then put my head there. And it is soothing. Like you get that warmth. And like you said, the newborn thing is a little bit odd to consider in that type of format. But I think there's a lot of truth in that because you get that comfort and that connection. It doesn't necessarily have to be this super sexual thing. It's a little bit
Mhm.
intimate. It brings you together, but not in a, overly confrontational way.
Yeah, and it's just when you are somebody who is so action focused and in her masculine at work, so getting shit done and like task orientated, it can be hard to sink back into your body and be like, what does this actually just feel like for me? Like, what is just a human touch, a connection, just for the sake of feeling connected and enjoying each other's company? How can I have that? And
Yeah.
that's why, like, yeah, like sometimes with sex, I'm like, it can be the holding of hands. It could be just like giving oral to each other, or just one person to the other. It could be just the touching or the massage or the rubbing or the oil or anything else. Like it's just that thing that you two get to do for and with each other to make each other feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to mean anything else. This is the only purpose is that you feel good. And that's where I'm like, that's when you feel so connected. That's when everything else feels easier.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it being like, oh, we're moving through these like really tricky times of like onboarding a new employee, and I'm like, oh, it's really hard. I'm navigating that. If your relationship at home feels rock solid, then that shit is easier.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I'm more capable. I've got the resilience to navigate that. I can do this because I'm feeling so much more grounded in myself and I know that I'm supported.
Yeah. Love that. So, for those that are listening at home, and I imagine that there are definitely some people who are listening to this right now and potentially are now problem aware. Perhaps this is something that they've buried down, Pandora's box, and it's all the way down there. If somebody's listening to this and they're now problem aware, or they were already problem aware and they were thinking, yes, this is really something that I need to do, how can somebody work with you? What is the next step for someone to reach out to you if they love your vibe, which I'm sure they will because you're amazing and I absolutely adore you. How do they take that next step to come into your world, and like where does one even start with something like this?
It's so funny that you say problem aware because I feel like it's like a light switch. It's like
Mm-hmm.
something that builds and builds and builds, and then it's just one little thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm all of that. And that is usually the place that clients get to. They're like, this is the problem. I don't even know what the solution is. I don't even know what I'm expecting walking into work with you. I don't know any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing because at least you're open to it. So most of my queries come through my website. So courtneynolan.com is the hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of different things on there. There's like if you're wanting to learn about a blowjob, blow his mind in 30 days is the creme de la creme. Start there. Otherwise, I do one-on-one personalized coaching, and it's for a minimum of 6 months or a one-off session.
Mm-hmm.
There's two different types of people that it will suit. With a one-off session, like it's like a strategy session on, hey, let's just work on this one very specific issue, like, hey, we're at this point in our relationship and we want to introduce a third. Help me navigate this conversation so that we can find the perfect unicorn and have sex in a way that is fun and free and we don't ruin our marriage in the process.
Mm-hmm.
That might be something. Whereas with a 6 month experience, it is we work together closely. So we get to know each other very, very well. So I understand exactly what your marriage looks like, your ins and outs. You will tell me more than you have told anybody else ever before, and you will actually you'll be excited to do it. You enjoy our sessions. But that's the place that most people come and start. So it's 6 months together and we see each other fortnightly via Zoom. Um, it's a fun time. It will blow your mind in ways that I'm confident you've never worked with before, but it's coaching at its finest. So we work through all of the blocks that you have. We unpack exactly what you want your marriage to look like, your communication with your husband, any of the sexual shame, your sexual mindset. And basically, you just start off feeling really, really good about it instead of feeling shamed or unsure about why you feel like you do. I hold your hand. It is
Amazing.
just, it's a fun time.
You're always a fun time. I absolutely love speaking to you. I feel like this podcast could have actually gone for 3 hours. We must do it again. And you said something before, and it made me think of Hotline. And I was thinking, how good would it be if once a month we could bring you on the podcast and we could have Courtney's Hotline, where we get the Dolly Doctor, the R-rated questions to come through from all of the CEOs out there that are these high-performing, highly ambitious women that maybe have questions for you. So that's definitely something that potentially we look at. But let's land this plane together. You've shared so much valuable info, so thank you kindly for coming on the show today and sharing your wisdom in all of your spicy yet supportive ways. What is one key thing that somebody listening to the show right now can do starting today that's going to be that first step in a positive direction to help improve things with their confidence when it comes to intimacy and their relationship? What can you leave listeners with?
I've got two. Sorry, Liv. I know I'm pushing back the rules, and your OCD is going to
Oh,
be like, don't do two, don't do two. Two. So the first one is a weekly check-in. Like this is the bread and butter of everything that I do. And I say it because my husband and I have been together like nearly 10 years, and we do it through
mhm,
long distance, through co-parenting. You know what we've done. So that's why it's tried and tested, and it is absolutely the tits.
mhm,
Every week have a check-in, and it is where you sit down with your husband and you ask 5 to 10 questions. I post them on my Instagram every single week. There's different ones, or create your own. The
mhm,
reason it works is because it's in an environment that you have that consistency. So it's every
mhm,
single week, you have this time. Your relationship is the priority in this moment.
mhm,
And you have this time where you can say everything and anything and it's judgment free. So
mhm,
if you've had, a barbecue or whatever, your husband's made a joke and it hasn't landed quite so well with you, if you aren't happy to bring that up in the moment or you're too emotive or whatever it is, on a Sunday afternoon, hey, there's space for me to do that here when we're not going to be so highly charged about whatever it was, and we can speak about it. So it works because you have that consistency piece, but then it also works because you're building like that habit, that relationship of I can say this, you're listening, but I'm also practicing using my voice.
mhm,
And we're not in the throes of sex, so it's not like coming out and it's like, "Look, we'll just see how we go way." But it's practicing like the vulnerability that you have with each other. So it's like, I
mhm,
can say this and the reaction's going to be okay.
mhm,
I can listen to what he's saying and I'm showing him that I'm listening. I'm
mhm,
demonstrating that. So you're showing each other how you can show it for each other. So when it's something like that barbecue example, okay, cool, that's quite vanilla. But if it comes down to, well, hey, actually, this is what I'd like to try with sex. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Or, hey, I'm seeing a coach now because I want to feel better about myself or not be
Mhm.
so self-conscious about what my fanny looks like post-baby. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can have those conversations. So the check-in, I am like, that is like my always like starting point. But the second
Mhm.
thing is, how often do you like kiss your husband with intention?
Mhm.
So one of the things that we have been talking about lately with a lot of clients, and I'm like, been trialing it with them. I'm like, can you just try this? Like, let me know how this works. A
Yeah.
20-second kiss every single day. 20
Mhm.
seconds because it's long enough that you're like, oh, I can go relax and sink into this. It's not like a 5-second number. It's like,
Mhm.
no, as passionate as you want. Like there's an episode on Sex and the City. I think it's like
Mhm.
season 6 because I'm a bit of a nerd with that. And they do Birgit and Carrie do a Hollywood kiss on the front of the courthouse steps. And if anyone's seen it, well, they'll know. But it's like it puts you in a better mood. So when I'm like giving this homework, I'm like, just try this out, see how it works.
Mhm.
Like if that is like your primary connection that you have, or the only connection that you have for a day, 20 seconds is nothing. There's 24
Mhm.
hours in a day. But
Yeah.
it is like that brilliant starting point where you're like, I'm putting effort in here.
Mhm.
I'm being intentional with my marriage. I'm being intentional and I'm showing up for this person. I'm sharing my body. We're quite literally kissing. We're in each other. And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, this is a beautiful place to start. And
Mhm.
just see how you feel. See how you feel more connected and what goes on from there. Because then from there we just build into sex and more conversations and deeper stuff. Instead of it just being like, hey, who's doing the pickups? Who's taking the kids to swimming? Does that car need to be registered? It's like we're getting to the place where we can unpack different things that we like or want to talk about or goals and
Mhm.
feel more fulfilled than just doing the routine.
Yeah, so good. Really good advice. I'm glad you gave two because I think they're two really good tips that people can take away now and start implementing straight away. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you endlessly, and I'm so excited for this episode to air because I just know that community is going to get so much value out of listening to this. So thank you, Courtney Nolan.
My pleasure.
Excited to have you back, and hopefully we can organize Courtney's hotline soon so we can get all of the spicy questions answered.
That would be so fun.
Amazing. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. If you loved today's episode, be sure to let me know by leaving a 5-star review at oliviajenkins.co. You can also connect with me via Instagram DMs at oliviajenkins.co or learn more on how we can work together at www.oliviajenkins.co. Have an amazing week, and I can't wait to connect with you in the next episode.